The years from 1917 to 1921 reshaped the world. Russia, once ruled by Tsarist autocracy, descended into chaos, overthrown by revolution, ravaged by civil war, and forever altered. In this video, we will explore the pivotal events that led to the collapse of an empire, the rise of Lenin, and the brutal war that tore Russia apart, leaving millions dead. This story is more than just history. It's a tale of power, suffering, and survival. The collapse of Tsar Nicholas II in 1917 was the result of decades of political repression, poverty, and economic mismanagement. By the time World War I erupted, the Russian people were worn down by years of hardship. Soldiers on the front lines were poorly equipped, and those left behind struggled to survive. Hunger and desperation fueled protests in the streets of Petrograd in early 1917. Factory workers, peasants, and soldiers marched, demanding peace, bread, and land. This wave of unrest culminated in the February Revolution, where the Tsar's own military turned against him, forcing his abdication. The centuries-old Romanov dynasty crumbled in a matter of days. Nicholas II, now a powerless figurehead, was placed under house arrest, marking the end of imperial rule in Russia. With the Tsar gone, a provisional government tried to bring stability, but Lenin had other plans. Returning to Russia from exile in April 1917, Lenin and the Bolsheviks promised to pull Russia out of the war and give land to the peasants. His message of revolution resonated with a population already at its breaking point. By October 1917, Lenin and the Bolsheviks seized their opportunity. The storming of the Winter Palace on October 25th was dramatic, though it wasn't the organized coup history remembers. As Lenin's supporters entered the building, the defenders, mostly teenage cadets, offered little resistance. Once inside, the Bolsheviks declared the government overthrown, but Lenin's hold on power was precarious, and his enemies were gathering strength. Russia soon descended into a brutal civil war, fought between the Red Army, loyal to Lenin and the Bolsheviks, and the White Army, a coalition of monarchists, nationalists, and Democrats. The Whites had the backing of foreign powers like Britain, France, the United States, and Japan, who feared Bolshevism's spread. Leon Trotsky, a brilliant organizer, turned the Red Army into a formidable fighting force. While the Whites had more support internationally, they were fractured from within, divided over ideology and leadership. In the cities, battles erupted in the streets, while rural areas saw villages razed by both sides. The Reds, driven by a vision of communism, were ruthless in suppressing any opposition. The Whites, though well-funded, lacked the unity and determination to overcome their enemies. The Civil War wasn't just a military conflict, it was a time of unimaginable violence. Both sides committed atrocities, but the murder of the Romanov family on July 17, 1918, stands out as a chilling act of brutality. Tsar Nicholas II, his wife Alexandra, and their 5 children were executed in a basement in Yekaterinburg by Bolshevik forces. Fearing that the Romanovs could be used as symbols by the Whites, Lenin ordered their deaths, ending the Romanov lineage forever. Their execution sent a message to Russia and the world. The old order was gone, and the revolution would stop at nothing to maintain power. Despite foreign intervention, the Whites were unable to coordinate their efforts effectively. Foreign troops withdrew in frustration, leaving the Whites without crucial support. Meanwhile, Lenin and Trotsky turned their attention to internal threats. The Cheka, the Bolshevik secret police, unleashed a reign of terror on those suspected of counter-revolutionary activity. Entire villages were destroyed if they resisted Bolshevik rule. Thousands were arrested and executed. In the cities, fear of the Red Terror gripped the population as the Cheka purged enemies and consolidated power. Lenin's ruthless tactics not only preserved his regime, but solidified the foundations of the new Soviet state. By the early 1920s, Russia was devastated by war and famine. The Civil War had destroyed agricultural production, and the country faced mass starvation. Millions died as peasants were forced to surrender grain to the Bolsheviks, worsening the famine. In some regions, desperation led to cannibalism. Eyewitnesses reported that families were digging up graves to survive. Hunger and disease swept through the countryside, claiming the lives of millions. The suffering was beyond description, leaving scars that would last for generations. As the fighting dragged on, atrocities were committed by both the Red and White armies. The Whites, in their campaigns, targeted Jewish communities in vicious pogroms, accusing them of supporting the Bolsheviks. Meanwhile, the Reds intensified their Red Terror, executing perceived enemies by the thousands. Political opponents were either imprisoned, sent to labor camps, or simply killed. The violence became a feature of everyday life, and no one was immune to the brutality of war. By 1922, the Red Army had triumphed. The White Army made a final stand but was ultimately crushed. Many Whites fled through Siberia, where countless numbers died or were exiled. With the Whites defeated, Lenin and the Bolsheviks were free to establish the Soviet Union, which officially formed in 1922. The Bolshevik victory secured the future of communism in Russia, but it came at a staggering human cost. The Bolshevik victory marked the birth of the Soviet state, but it came at the cost of an estimated 8 to 10 million lives. The Civil War, combined with famine, left deep scars on Russia and its people. The suffering endured during these years would take generations to heal, and the legacy of these events shaped the Soviet Union's future policies and global politics. This period in Russian history is a powerful reminder of how ideology, war, and revolution can tear a nation apart. The Russian Revolution and Civil War reshaped not only Russia but the world, as the Soviet Union emerged as a global power. This history is filled with both triumph and tragedy, and its effects are still felt today. If you want to explore more about this pivotal period in history, here's the book for you: Russia, Revolution and Civil War, 1917 to 1921 by Antony Beevor. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more historical insights from around the world. Thank you for watching.